want to go live,
Yes,
Mrs.
please.
Ayode?
Oh, you need to start talking to them.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. Let me know if you can hear us okay. Let me know if you can hear us okay. If you can hear us okay, just say yes.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. Thank you, Yandara. Thanks everybody for joining. We're just, about to get started. So give us a few minutes and we will kick it right off. We have about 3 minutes to start. Thanks everyone on Instagram who's watching. Thank you for joining us today. Our music is gone. If you cannot join on Zoom or having issues on Zoom, please feel free to go to my YouTube page at A Journey Through Time, true as in TRUE, A Journey Through Time Facebook page. I'm streaming on my Facebook page as well. So please feel free to join on there or connect with me on Instagram Live. Hi, Kim. Thanks for joining. Good to see you all here. Thank you for everyone who's joining on YouTube, who's joining on Zoom, who's joining anywhere you're joining from. We appreciate it. Thank you for making time out with us today. Let me know if you can hear me okay, if my voice is wavering or not. If it's good, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Yes, if you have any questions at any point, please feel free to post your questions.
Come on, you should start on the dot of 7.
Okay. Before we get started, Killian, if you can hear me, please go ahead and cue the poll so that we get started. All right, it's that time of day. It is 2 p.m. Eastern time. It is 7 p.m. West African time. And we're so excited to have you here today. Thank you for everyone who is here. Please, as you know, this is not your first time on social media. Thank you for coming, and please like, share, comment throughout this program. We would love to hear from you. This is a conversation for every one of us, not just me or my guests, but for every one of us. So please feel free to participate throughout our conversation tonight. Thank you again for sharing this hour with us. I would like to talk a little bit about what a journey through time is. I've had that question asked from a couple of people. The intent of a journey through time, and if you've never seen the introductory videos or any information about this and you're just logging in for the first time, a journey through time is a platform where Africans share with other Africans about our own stories. The goal here is to enable us talk about ourselves, to enable us, tell our own stories from our own perspectives, right? We want to get from surface level conversation of just things and issues and, talking about our present, our past, or our future, but we want to get into what makes us who we are, where we came from, why we do the things we do, how we are, right? And how we can get the values and the cultural values that we have, and how we can mold that into where we want to go in the future. So A Journey Through Time is a platform of Africans for Africans, talking about our stories and who we are, gleaning from our past, our present, and our future. Okay, so we're going to be having a series of conversations around different topics, and we will be bringing in different guests from time to time to share, our perspective on things, on our lives as Africans, right? So that is A Journey Through Time in a nutshell. And I'll be sharing more about, the concept of A Journey Through Time as we have and air more episodes. So right now, without further ado, we want to get right into our conversation for today. But before that, I would like to share a little bit about my guests and about myself. So let's play the profiles of our guests today.
He is passionate, enthusiastic, and dedicated educator, believes that every child can learn and that education is not one size fits all. Hence, educational instructions should be tailored to different learning styles. Our extensive work experience spanning 23 years, both in the corporate and educational sectors. In the last 22 years, has gained skills in organizational and educational administration, IT service management, human resource management, instructional design, teaching, coaching, and virtual instruction. Currently serving as Center Director, Saros International Learning Center. She holds BSc Political Science and Public Administration, PhD Education, Master Psychology, to mention a few. Let's welcome our guest for today, Mrs. Rosemary Udo Ime.
Can we just give a hand to our guest today, Mrs. Rosemary Udo Ime? If you can please turn on your video so everyone can see your face. There she is. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for joining. So glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. And then obviously, a little snippet of who I am, if we could please play.
She is passionate, a multifaceted advocate of truth. Our host is one who is constantly seeking and searching the pages of truth. Homer, as she's fondly known by, is a program manager by day and solution seeker all day, every day. She has 16 years of professional working experience across Nigeria and other countries. She has a bachelor's degree in engineering from the prestigious University of Benin, Nigeria, and an MBA from Alt International Business School in Boston. She has also badged numerous professional qualifications, including the Project Management Professional and Scrum and Agile certification. We'll leave you to experience the journey through time with our regular host, Mrs. Omohua Enigma.
All right. Thank you, our able moderator. Appreciate that small and short snippet of who I am. So my name is Omohua Enigma, and I'll be your host of A Journey Through Time throughout, the series. And I'm here with Mrs. Rosemary Udo Ime. She is an expert educator and has done great work in that space of, especially in the area of homeschooling for a lot of years now. And so we'll be hearing her perspective on the topic today as we delve into, more into this program. So as you may have imagined, you may have seen the intro videos so far and wondered, what is all this about? We wanted to start this series kind of introducing and riding on, our International Women's Day celebration we just finished on the 8th of March. And, still celebrating women. I believe that women should be celebrated every day, all day long, as well as men, but the focus on International Women's Day is really where we're stemming this first episode from. And our topic for today is something that I know a lot of women will say, here we go again. You know, women bashing women. I want to start out right to just say, this is not a conversation to bash anyone. This is not a conversation to say, to make a choice for you or say this is right and this is all, this is wrong. This is a conversation that we want to have in the collective so that we understand and dig deeper into, you know, how we see things, the way we think about things. The last International Women's Day celebration had a theme of embracing equity. And as you know, equity is really fairness and justice. Fairness and justice from the perspective of one person, of the person, and not just from your perspective of what is fair or equitable. So what we're trying to understand in the space of a woman's hair, and our title is A Woman's Crown, what do we consider as fair or just from our own perspective, looking at ourselves as the person in the mirror, right? What are the narratives that we've seen spoken and told and being played out relating to a woman's hair? And I want us to not only think about this from a woman's perspective, we want to involve even the men. So if there are men in our audience today, you are absolutely part of this conversation. So what is hair? What does hair represent in Africa, and in Nigeria particularly? You know, what is that identity that hair represents? And you may ask, so why are we talking about that now? I believe that as the world talks more and we move towards being equitable, we really need to understand what that means for us, what we interpret as equity, what we embrace as fair, what we embrace as just, and not from the perspective of another, but from our perspective. So we're choosing to look into the mirror and ask ourselves, are we being equitable to ourselves? Or are we expecting others to show that equity to us? And how does this relate to how we create the image of ourselves, not just our hair, but our entire self? Okay, so that would be our topic for today. And so before we get more into the conversation, I just want to mention a few housekeeping items. As you may already have noticed, this meeting is being recorded because we want to not only share conversations, but we also want to be able to get information and share information with everyone as well. So this meeting is being recorded just for everyone's information. Participants are being asked to mute, and you'll be muted until you request to speak, and we'll allow you, we'll mute you and ask you to speak. So everyone will be muted. And then we're asking that everyone keeps the comments and questions as professional and decent, as respectful as possible. This is a conversation for adults, and not just adults, for people who are mature and not just age, but in their minds. And so we're expecting you, please be respectful as well. All right, so we want to get into this topic, a queen's crown. What is the history and the meaning of hair? And to introduce this topic, I would like us to play a video to kind of learn more about the history of African hair culture. We can't hear the audio yet.
Slightly more so than the men. As of late, more and more news comes out of our girls being discriminated against because of their hair. Fortunately for us today, some of our girls seem to be embracing their hair with the righteous proclamation, "We will not change our hair for your schools." We shouldn't be outsourcing our self-esteem as a people to begin with. But now, more than ever, it's important for us to know our hair history collectively, both men and women, so that we will begin to value it more and appreciate its beauty. Our hair has always been a big part of our identity as a people, And that's what I wanted to touch on today. One question seems to lurk around in the diaspora. Historically, what meaning did Africans ascribe to their hair? Well, hopefully by the end of this video, I would have answered that question for you. African people have the most unique and diverse hair on the planet, and only recently has that been a symbol of pride for us. The hair texture of African men and women varies from Western Africa all the way to Eastern Africa. It varies from thin to thick, from nearly straight, and from soft, kinky curls to tight peppercorn curls. Some scientists have attributed the conditions of African geography to the type of hair texture a particular group of Africans may have. In other words, Mother Africa texturized our hair. If our hair wasn't unique enough, what further exemplifies our hair glory is the fact that we can perform the most diverse hairstyles known to mankind. No other people on the planet have the hairstyles that Africans created. Braids seem to be a sort of universal foundational African trait, and protective styling techniques in the more central and southern parts of Africa were a very common theme. In parts of Central Africa, women used a mixture of aqua and animal fat to hold their hair in long cylindrical shapes. Styling aids from animal fats, plants, and minerals date back to ancient times. Nubians in particular developed a type of ironing comb to make rows of tight coils around the head. African hairstyles have revealed a person's age, birthplace, clan membership, socioeconomic status, marital status, and occupation, among other things. Among the Maasai, women and children traditionally keep their heads shaved, while male warriors wear long braids dyed with red clay. Community leaders wore the most elaborate hairstyles, and only the ruler wore a headdress. Crowns were made from leather, gold, beads, and fancy braids. Priests also have worn hairstyles that set them apart from other community members. Young women may wear styles that show they are open to marriage, whereas married women's hairstyles show they are unavailable. Before marriage, Igbo girls in present-day Nigeria traditionally used clay, ground coil, and palm oil to shape their hair into a horn shape that bends toward their brows. Girls in Senegal may wear braids and whimsical styles, while married women have plainer, covered styles. In Kenya, young Turkana men spend hours getting elaborate hairstyles that show they have completed the initiation rites for adulthood. Among some ancient societies, African men wore their hair in a distinctive style when they were about to go to war. This signaled their families to prepare for a possible death. Since ancient times, hairdressers have enjoyed a high status in traditional African cultures, and hair grooming time was sociable. In most communities, including those in Ghana and Senegal, hairdressers work only with members of their own gender. Hairdressing, which might be done daily, involves cleansing, then combing, oiling, and styling into various braids, wraps, curls, twists, or other shapes, sometimes with decorative accessories. In other words, hair was a sacred event. This veneration and importance of hair was observed throughout the continent. One African creation myth from the San people of Namibia is testament to the
So let's
spiritual
stop the
unity
video
of
now.
all Africans.
All right. Thank you, moderator. Appreciate it. So we just got an intro into
Previous
history of
video,
African hair. And we see that, from our past and from different African cultures, hair represented several things. There was meaning to hair and hairstyles that that you'd see on the person's head. Looking at a person, you could tell if the person was just got married, if the person was going to war, if the person was, celebrating adulthood. There was a relationship of hair to our person, to the person, and the essence of the person, or something that the person was trying to show. So I want to call on my guests, Mrs. Rosemary, if you could please come off mute. I want to start out by asking you our first question. Based on you're an educator, right? And your background is learning history and teaching people, kids, right? So what, from your perspective, is how did we evolve from hair as it represented us as Africans to where we are today, from your perspective?
Okay, Omo, thank you so much. First of all, I want to say a very big thank you, and to say that this series is about time we do it, because it's important to know where we're coming from. If we don't know where we're coming from, I don't know how we'll know where to go. Okay, so to your question, hair, how did we evolve? Everyone has, there are different perspectives to this, but as you said earlier, I'm an educator, so I'm going to speak from the lens of an educator. Looking back at our past, especially the documentary that we just watched, it showed the importance of hair. I mean, hair for us was not just something on top of our head, but it was a lot for Africans, and it still is to an extent. It's something that we value. It's associated with our religion. It's associated with our identity. We associate hair to our person. In Africa, thick, full hair represents health. When you see someone who has thick hair, they say, oh, beautiful, just by looking at the person's hair. But now the question is, how do we see hair now? Do we still accord the same respect and regard to hair that we in the past as we do now? I don't think so. I don't think so, because the Africans, we see it all the time. We're ashamed of our hair. I'm saying that because as a young child, as a young girl growing up, I think it was when I got into my into my 30s that I became confident to take my wig off. All through my life, I would always braid my hair, loosen it in the braider shop, wash it and braid it again. So
Well, if I may ask, where did that shame of our own hair, where do you think we got that? Because I completely agree, same experience. I never was very comfortable sharing my hair, and I'll tell a little bit of my story later, but where do you think that shame came from?
I think it's what we see, what we learn. A friend asked me some weeks ago, Rosemary, how do you think is the best way children learn? We learn from what we emulate and what we experience. So growing up as a young child, for those that are in my generation, we learned a lot from the TV. We watched TV every single day. And how was a perfect and beautiful woman presented? You know, in society today, if we want everyone to wear skinny jeans, we just show famous people wearing skinny jeans, and skinny jeans will be what's in vogue. So the picture we formed in the minds of our children, in our own minds of what beauty is a woman with straight hair. And so we grew up watching this, seeing this, and this was a picture. So if they tell me close your eyes and imagine yourself looking all classy and beautiful, when I close my eyes, the picture I have in my mind is straight Caucasian looking hair. So I think that our image or our perspective of what hair is today is based on what we have learned formally and informally from the pictures we see, from the things we bring. The teacher that stands in front of the child, how do they dress their hair? Children grow up wanting to be like their teachers or wanting to be like their mothers. How do they see their mothers with their hair? You see a little girl trying to emulate mommy. She wears lipstick, wears mommy's shoes, and wears a wig on her head because she has seen mommy do it. So we taught our children to be that way.
That's such an interesting perspective. And I think this is even going to be more interesting to you, audience. And I see there's a question about what makes African women change their hairstyles. We're going to address this question later. So please, whoever asked that question, I think it's Wilfred on Instagram. Thank you for sending that question. We're going to address this question later. It's part of what we have planned to talk about. But before we go into the questions, I wanted to just share a little bit of information that I found very interesting. Do you know that the hair industry in Nigeria, and again, you know, most of us here are Nigerian, so if there are other Africans, please, this conversation also by extension relates to you. So please don't take this as, negligence by any means. Do you know that the valuation of the hair industry in Nigeria, it's about $1.16 billion. That's a huge amount. And then this is expected to rise about 15.4% in 1 year. the growth of the hair industry is supposed to go 15.4% in a year, right? Compared to the US, the valuation of the hair industry in the US is 1.3 billion, while only less than 2.2 billion, like 200 million short of what the valuation of US, the hair industry in US is. And so this is a big industry in our country. And you can tell by, we have a lot of women and we wear our hair and express our hair. Now, one other thing I found very interesting is the hair extension industry. So a segment of the hair care industry, which is the hair extension industry, talks about 80%, 8 out of 10 women wear wigs as part of their fashion items. Like when you're talking about dressing, part of that dressing is your wig or your weave on or your extension or whatever, right? And this is part of their day-to-day activities. That is so true, right? And the reason that was cited for why women wear extensions or wigs or weave-ons or wear any kind of hair whatsoever is because of three main things: the urge to look younger than one's age, the convenience, and to save time. Now, according to this article, same article, which is from leadership.ng, the CEO of Kikulicious Hairs, I think her name is Nkiru Omili, and I'm just quoting what was stated in this article, says that she went into this industry because to make Nigerian women look beautiful and boost their confidence. And that, some women suffer from, real hair loss, alopecia, and, they just want to get their hair done quickly. So her goal is to make women effortlessly beautiful at an affordable rate. And I want to highlight that, effortlessly beautiful at an affordable rate. My question is, what is the definition of beauty? If someone is saying wearing a wig, extension, and a long bow straight, no offense to long bow straight wig wearers at all, but what are we, from our perspective, defining as beauty? And what is the cost of the affordability of wearing these wigs? This is Rosemary.
So the question, okay, so let me go on. What do we define as beauty? Wow. You see, I think the standard of beauty changes every.
I think at this point we need to get a drink. You see, that's the gist part. Okay, let's go.
So like I think what we define as beauty just keeps on changing. The milestones, the boundaries just keep on pushing and changing. And I'm going to move from here to everything else that we define as beauty. I mean, as Nigerian women, we see it now. There was a time that looking like Agbani was the thing. Agbani, the beauty, the lady that won the world beauty. Right. And being Agbani was, you had to have very slim, narrow hips, very thin legs, nose. And that was it. But right now, let's look at what's on Instagram. Everybody is having a BBL. What's happening? Because the standards have changed. Tomorrow they tell us that if we clash our colors, wear pink with a bit of green, you're very nice. And another thing, say no, that nude is the new black. So who defines this? Who defines what beauty is?
Right.
And okay, so your program says going back through time. Let's go back. We're African women. We're Africans.
Right.
What was beauty in our time? We are allowing the media, and I think the media is because the Western world have more control of the media. They are the for a while, for a long time. Yes, they had the monopoly of the media. So
right.
What they represented, what they showed us to be a standard of beauty was what everybody moved to. But now we can see the media space is opening up. Africa is we're seeing more voluptuous women. And because of that, we even see the Caucasians braiding their hair. So the definition of beauty keeps on changing. But for me as an African woman, I think it comes with age. I think it comes with age. I don't know. I know we have a younger guest who would say that, but I think it comes with age. That you come to a point in your life that you just have to accept yourself. We have to look and say, am I beautiful? Who says that black skin is not fine? Who says that kinky hair is not the nice hair? We need to define it ourselves, because if we are waiting for the media and we're waiting for those that control the media to define it for us, my sister in the Lord, We will never get there. It will keep on shifting. Because today, I know for those that know me, my children say I've had blonde hair, I've done the wig, until I got to a point and say, sister, you cannot keep on moving. You have to find a
Changing.
balance. Yeah, you have to find a balance. Do you know that the Caucasians, a lot of times, especially for Nigerians who are traveling, a lot of people that travel, there's a time I was traveling to the UK, and I was stopped at the UK border because the passport control guy could not recognize me. He looked at my passport. They said, "How did your hair go so long?" I'm like, I'm an African woman. We change like this. So we have to find who we are, define beauty for ourselves, and not allow others to set the standard for us.
That's absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. As you can see on the screen, if you can, yeah, this slide, you can see the definitions of hair. And I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. We have different textures of hair, right? And if you go to, I think it's the slide before that has the 2A, 2B, 2C type hair, which is wavy. Funny enough, I don't know, it's being cut out. But anyway, I think that picture is cropped somehow. But most people know 2A, 2B, 2C. And I deliberately chose that picture to show you that if you match the texture of the hair with the person wearing that hair, that has that hair growing from their head, 2A, 2B, 2C, those people, they're not Black. They're mostly Caucasians, right? And then you start to go to 3A, 3B, 3C. Moderator, if you could please go to the slide before. Then you start to see, like at the tail end, you may see a Black woman. I think that was Alicia Keys at the end, the coily type hair. And then towards the bottom, the 4A, 4B, 4C, that's where the Africans and African Americans, Black women's hair come through. So you can even tell by the texture of the hair, it's already very clear, who normally has what type of texture. Now, there are people who have a mixed race, and that may not be true derivatively, right, all the time. But we're saying largely, the texture of hair, when you're moving from curly to coily to kinky, Afro hair, you can see where really the Black African woman sits in terms of your texture of hair. So that's the kind of hair we have, right? So if you go to the next slide, you'd also see that you can attain some level of straightness, but you can see the natural state of that hair is curled. That is just the natural state of the hair, and nothing. God had created that hair the way it is that way, right? So I guess my question for our guests is, what are the definitions attached to when you see these textures of hair, the different textures? You see the curly, the coily, and then the Afro kinky. What do people not normally what definitions do people attach to these different textures of hair just by looking at them?
Is it to me or Yantara?
To you.
Okay. So when people see coily hair, what do they think?
Yes.
Let me see. Let me answer it for myself. So if I see someone with coily hair, I'll say, this one now Igbo. Or I would say, I think that straight hair looks, okay, let me be like everyone else. But if you're asking me, when I see a woman with straight hair, straightened hair, flat hair, the person looks more professional. If they tell you, do you want to take a professional picture? The first thing you're thinking, how does my hair look? So you have this professional look. But when you see the coily, kinky hair, you have the wild look, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to digress a bit more. In our culture, Africa culture,
right?
I don't know. I knew you grew up in Nigeria, right? So, did you see children they say this child is Dada? You've heard this before.
Dada, yes, now.
Dada,
dreadlocks.
Now. Yes, yeah. There was a time in my life that I believed, my hair, when I wash it out, and just small hair, when I wash it out and I blow it out, the tips of my hair just the tip coiled together. And every time I comb it, it has to cut off. And then once it has fresh air again, it locks. And I was like, Abi, am I natural dada? Some children are born that way. And once a child is born with dada, you know, there's a spiritual connotation to it. And
Right.
everybody thinks that it's Bob Marley or Rastafari, you know. And some people think that your hair is thick and coily and left loose. It's either you're wild, you're unkept, you're not put together as a woman. People say, why don't you do something about your hair? But once you straighten it out with an iron or you blow dry it for a while, you say, oh yes, it's all prim and proper. But I think when people see straight hair, prim and proper, natural coily hair, unkept. And
Can I also add to what has been said?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah. By the way, can I introduce, because I was going to introduce you when I call you, but since you want to contribute, please go ahead. That is Mrs. Rosemary's daughter. Do you mind if I say how old you are?
No,
No,
Okay. She is 20 years old, so she's in Nigeria's context, she's an adult. She's 20 years old, but you would really enjoy. And again, this is a journey through time. We're not just only going to be talking, you know, as parents or people who are mature. We're going to talk to our younger generation. And, you know, in coming episodes, we're going to have older people, great grandfathers, our great grandmothers, people who have been, you know, have lived their lives and are still alive to help us, you know, glean wisdom. So Yandara is here to help us, to give us the perspective from is it Gen Z now? Which generation? What the gen that she's in, to come tell us about her hair. So please go ahead, Yandara.
Just wanted to repeat the question. The question is, when I see coily, curly, and different types of hair, what do I see? Okay, when I see someone with curly hair, especially like a full-on black man, especially in Nigerian, I think, oh my God, you're so, I don't know, I think they're really beautiful because I just love the texture of their hair. And maybe it's because many people have this, I don't know, many people adore half-caste children. So maybe their head goes there and they want to just play with their hair. But when you see kinky hair or 4C type hair, the first thing hairdressers like to say is, this hair has problem. In fact, they're trying to pass you along to their own fellow hairdressers because they don't want your troublesome hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like most of that perception is, or the negative perception of 4C hair is because of lack of education, hair education. I feel like many women might go through hair loss because they are trying to force their hair to be a certain standard that the media has controlled. So hair loss is obviously going to be a problem there. And going back to the question, I recently saw that I'd like to talk about dreadlocks. I saw, as I was doing my mini research on the topic, that dreadlocks, if you think about it, the name is dreadlocks. It's that they originated from the word dreadful. Most people look at dreadlocks and think, oh, this person is a Rastafarian or is a Yahoo boy. It doesn't come with any respect.
Positive connotation.
Yes, it doesn't have any positive connotation at all. So I checked the origin of the word dreadlocks, and it came from, I think, the colonial masters were trying to fight Eastern tribes, and most of those warriors wore dreadlocks because those dreadlocks were a sign of war and their strength. Warriors wore dreadlocks. And so the colonial masters, obviously their enemy at the time, thought, oh, these people are dreadful. So the name just stuck, dreadlocks. So yeah.
That is so interesting. So you see, and I told you earlier on that we're going to be going, we're not talking surface level here. We're trying to get into the reasons for, a lot of us have worn extensions, wigs for the longest time, right? And again, we're not bashing. If that's what you choose to do, it's fine. We're only trying to propagate knowledge and information so that when you're doing something next time, ask yourself, why am I doing this, right? What are the things that are making me do? Do I really know am I just following trend, right? Or there's a reason why I'm doing this, right? So I love that you dug into that history to talk about, dreadlocks. And by the way, I have sister locks, so, not that I don't like dreadlocks, but again, you might say, hey, no wonder she's talking about this thing because she doesn't wear wigs. I will tell the story about how I arrived at sister locks later on in this program, but let's move on for the sake of time. Admin, if you could please show us pictures of those three beautiful ladies. So who can just quickly on Instagram or Facebook or Zoom here, tell us who this lady is. Just type quickly in the chat what her name is. And I'm looking on Instagram. Who is this lady? Come on, guys. I know you know who this is. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is Ketanji Brown Jackson. She is the first Black woman Supreme Court justice in the U.S. She made news last year when she was going through the whole what they call the process of being vetted out, right? And it made news, and eventually she was sworn in, and it was like finally some Black women in one of the highest echelons of the United States. When you talk about one of the highest top career women, the highest positions anyone could attain to, she has attained that. Can we play this? Let me show the second and the third pictures, please. Who knows this one? This one you should know now. No. Oh, no. Oh, sister, no. Thank you for joining. Okay, so this is Mrs. Obi Eze Kwesili. She has been a two-time minister. She served in different federal level cabinet positions in Nigeria. She is a financial expert. She was minister of budgeting. I don't know that she was minister, but she was the budgeting head of I forget, oh my gosh. But she was in Obasanjo's regime at the time, and she made news all the time. She's known as Madam Due Process because she started that we need to do things the right way, and she set up a process for that. And this is another woman who has attained a very high position, and at the peak of her career woman. She's excelled greatly in what she's done, and so we all know her. Can we roll the third picture, please? Please pardon walking as we go. But we know who this is. This is Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. This is currently, she is the Director General of World Trade Organization. I mean, I don't know that it goes higher than this other than being President of the United States, right? But this is another African Nigerian woman who has risen to the top of her game as a career woman, as a professional and all. Now let me go to Mrs. Rosemary. What stands out for these three women for you?
I think for me is acceptance of who they are.
Okay.
They are comfortable in their skin. They are comfortable as African women, and they live that in their personality, the way they carry themselves, in the way they dress, and of course, we're talking about hair. In the way headgears are an African thing. And Ngozi just stands out. She has, if you go to the market, I want the market women to tie your hair. Once you say you want Ngozi style, they know what it is. So this hairstyle, this hair wrap style is synonymous to this woman. And of course, Obi, Madam Due Process, we all know her. I've been in a meeting with her physically before, and her presence, she filled the room. She's so comfortable in her own skin, and she speaks with a lot of confidence. And I think all African women should strive to be like that. And for the American one, she's making us proud. So I like her sister a lot. But I think I have them. I don't know. What's the style of my head? Is this dreadlocks or what do they call my own? Is this the
You have
dreadful one?
dreadlocks.
Okay, I have dreadlocks. I'm now thinking, because of this social media thing, I should move to sister locks. So.
No. So our audience listening may say, they planned it, all of them. One sister love, the other one has bodily. I didn't know Mrs. Rosemary until recently when I started putting this program together. So it just happened that she was someone who just really we just had the same similar beliefs and ideologies. It just happened that way. It's not like I planned it. So you may see this women, and maybe because we're having this conversation, you say, oh, I selected who I brought. No, I did not. I didn't know she had dreadlocks until I saw her on video. She didn't know I had sister locks until I told her. So I love something you said earlier, that many of us women, we come to our own at a certain age. You get to a certain age where you're like, you know what? I'm tired of the world defining for me who I am. I want to define for myself who I am, right? And so that's the inward look we want to have. And I said I was going to tell my story earlier. So let me give a brief of my story. How did I happen to start Sister Lux, right? So all my life, if anyone here on Instagram or Facebook or Zoom knew me way back when, if you're someone who knew me when I was younger, you will know that I never had the best of hair. Let's just leave it like that, because description, I literally had like chicken yash, forgive my French, type of hair. There was no hair at the nape of my back, right? And I really had terrible hair. It was so bad that when I started junior secondary school, one senior saw my hair and I didn't know what she was going to do. She pulled me, thinking she was going to tell me to go do something for her. She pulled me into a classroom and put me in front of the class, and all the classmates burst out laughing just looking at my hair. That was how bad my hair was. I mean, so I always did not have good hair. How did that start? When I started putting perms, relaxers. My sisters happened to have good hair. I had good hair up until then, but once they started putting relaxers, all my hair just became really messed up, and that happened for the longest time. And so eventually I had to come to that same point, like you said, to say, because every time I was straightening my hair, before I'm not joking, step out of the salon and the wind just blows small, hair has gone back. I'm like, all the money I just spent, where is the hair? And so I started asking myself, what is this hair saying to me? Every little thing, the hair has curled up. Wind blows, the hair is curled up. So I asked myself, my hair is telling me, leave me in my natural state. Let me just be the way I'm meant to be. And that's how I finally was like, let me lock up this hair, because that is the state that the hair knows and wants to be in. And since then, my hair has flourished. Now, that is my journey. There's a reason why you are taking the journey you are taking. But what we're trying to do here is understand the reason for your journey. Make it your journey, not what society is defining, not what the pressure of media, the pressure of another lady or whatever. And a lot of people who are into the hair business, and my sisters are even into the hair business, they may be cursing me out now and say, you want to spoil market for us? You want? I understand that, but you know what? This is about awareness, guys, and we really want everyone to be aware. So let's go to our next question. This is specifically for you, Yandara. What are the internal and external influences from your perspective and biases that drive the ideologies behind how the African woman wears her hair?
For internal influences on my own part, I can't really speak for the whole of Gen Z, but I can speak for myself. I'd say for internal influences, I'd say comfort is one. My hair is a fashion statement to me. I cannot leave the house if I do not feel like I'm slaying. So my hair is I feel like my hair is my crown. So it's a big mood and confidence booster to me. So comfort, style, and expression. Then for external influences, I would say that media is number one. I feel like I follow Nigerian artists like Ira Star, and if you I don't know whether you've noticed, but she's been carrying long goddess-like braids and long goddess-like braids. And if you look at it now, a lot of braided hairstyles are copying her, or with a little two piece of braids in front of their hair, and everybody's loving that, and everyone is following that, and everyone wants to emulate it because she's a big star and she looks pretty when she does that. That's one. And I also feel another external influence could be perception. If you are in the artist community in Nigeria, most people like weird hairstyles. I have a friend of mine who is a guy, and he has dyed his hair about 4 times within a year. I think at first it was blue, then it changed to green, then red, and then now it's black to black. And most people like, because I feel like I'm in the age and I'm in the part of my life and age in my life where most people are trying to explore and then check and discover different things. So where you are has a very big influence on that. If you are artistic, someone would say, oh, you should try this and that. And if you are, I'm studying engineering, most of the girls in my department are very, I don't think they really care much about their hair. Some of them just tie it up.
When you have
and
technical architectural drawings to do, who has time?
Nobody has time for hair at all. So I feel like those are some of the factors that might influence your hair and styles and choices.
Yeah, so I mean, there's different stages and that one is in that would, that just like in everything in life, right? That you may not pay particular attention to hair and things like that, but we never should forget, like you said, your hair is a part of your expression, right? And you should be able to express who you are by the way you wear your hair, not just clothes, but also your hair. I don't know if there's a male in this audience. I would like a male who would like to answer this question, because this is, we all talk about a woman's hair. Again, like I said at the beginning, this is not only about a woman, it's about the African and our hair. So I would like men, because one thing I've seen is men, sometimes it's the men that don't want the women to wear our natural hair. You say, madam, are you going out looking like that? So if there's a man in the audience, please, and if you want to answer a question, if you want to contribute, please indicate so we can unmute you and let you speak. But the question to the men here, and we'll move on if you don't see someone doesn't indicate immediately, is from a man's perspective, how do you think about a woman's hair? For you, what is it? What is classy hair, sophisticated hair? How do you think a woman should express her hair? So if there isn't any man, we may move on, but that's a question I wanted a man in the audience to answer. But I'll let you, Rosemary, just in 30 seconds, speak to that from your perspective of how you and your husband, or you relate with men concerning your hair look.
My sister, man.
Man, something. It's a serious something.
Doing for men, no. Yeah, never saying perception, confidence for who? We women, when we get all dressed up and the man looks, my mom used to make a joke, says, when I was a young girl, if I walk past, a man also look me, and I say his neck is spinner. So the thing we do is because of the men around us. A lot of things we do, except people that are me. I feel that I'm old enough to take me or leave me. But yes, men have a role to play. I know, for instance, my own man, the first time I did dreads on my hair, he doesn't want my trouble, so don't let me be. But I could see the expression on his face. Woman, they crazy, but he doesn't want my wahala. And one of the funny things, and I've said it before to you, Omo, I don't know why men like the women with the hair back. When we do our hair back or do cornrows, we look all innocent. Even in when we watch Bible stories where they talk about Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Cornrow.
So back represents decent. And this crazy thing, before I got into this your theory, I tried to do a little research. What do you think about long hair? I mean, why is long hair more central?
Hello? Hello? Okay, is my
Ah,
microphone
okay,
on?
we have a
The man is coming. Okay, man, let's hear
Yeah,
from the man.
I've been having issues. My microphone was not working. But
okay.
yes. So the question is, what do men think about women's hair?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to confirm. Okay,
Yes,
so
that's the question. Yes.
so for me now, I'm a newly titled man, I guess. I'm still quite young though. But from my own standpoint, it's like men would usually follow women that have this certain appeal to them, this
Mm.
certain desirable appeal. And that usually stems from most of the time, like what they're exposed to. Like if I grow up and the norm is women with high class women with long straight hair, and this is like what is constantly advertised, this is what I'm constantly exposed to, then subconsciously these are the type of women that I would find more attractive.
Right.
But usually this can also be challenged with I don't know, some people just go against the norm. Some people have their own preferences. Because I know personally, I prefer ladies that are a lot more authentic, that don't look like they are struggling. Because there's sometimes I can look at a woman and she's wearing a wig and she's sweating. She clearly looks uncomfortable, but she really just wants to carry this appearance. And for me, that's a bit too much. Oh. But as far as like you look comfortable, like you genuinely express comfort and confidence in your appearance, especially when it comes to your hair, then I would say that's a lot more desirable.
I
Mm.
bet, can I say something? Okay, so that's Gen Z talking now. So the Gen Z people are telling us that they follow women based on what they see. So if what did you call Arastas? What's the star you talk about? Yeah, the Arastas. So if it's Arastas that is in front of us constantly, you would be looking for an Arastas in the audience and say, oh, I have my own Arastas. But the old men want us to look like this, like Mary and he showed in the movie Jesus Christ of Nazareth. So I think I know that every man wants a woman that is confident, but the older men, I believe, want to have this respectful look. Even though I'm confident, okay, me now, I'm an over 40-year-old woman, and I decide to go out with my husband, and I decide, you know what, I want to rock a mohawk. I scrape this part of my hair, scrape the part of this other part, and I spray this one red, and it's sleepy and it's standing up, and I say, I'm confident. Even if you beg me, I beg now. Sister, just tie scarf or wear wigs, but I think this generation, the new Gen Z people, they can't, everything else, they don't be daring, they want to stand out.
Okay. I mean, that's amazing. So people look at hair again from the icons and the visuals and the images that are in front of them, right? And so from a man's perspective, I guess from what Jason is saying, if you're comfortable you're comfortable wearing that, and again, this is not to say when you wear a wig, you are wrong. If you're wearing an extension, you're wrong. No, that's not what this is about. This is about what are you exuding by doing that? If your image is, oh, I want to be beautiful, so I'll put on a wig, then we're saying that construct is wrong, because you're beautiful as you are, in your own natural hair state. And if you put more effort in being in making you as a person beautiful, your hair will reflect it, your face will reflect it, everything about you will reflect it. It's not the wig that makes you beautiful, it's you that makes you beautiful. So that is the construct we're trying to portray. And we're almost out of time. It's amazing how time flies. And we didn't go through all the questions. And so I actually created a poll here on Zoom, but I don't see a lot of people on there. So we may not play the poll, but I want to go through very quickly one or two questions, and we only have a few minutes. Is this Akan? Is that Akan? That's Jason? Or that's somebody else? Okay, so Akan, what would you say from your perspective are the gender And the gender defined hairstyles. What would you say are, oh, these are kind of hairstyles you expect a man to wear, the kind of hairstyles a woman should wear?
I mean, as of now, as of the societal norm, what I've grown up with, masculine hairstyles are usually like short and tame, very
Mm.
tame,
Mm.
as opposed to feminine hairstyles, which are usually long, luscious, beautiful, and whatnot. But you know, nowadays things are changing. Men are growing out their hair. Like, for example, me, I have significantly longer hair than, let's say, my father, who barely has any hair on his head. And or actually, no, an interesting contrast is between me and my older sister Yandara. Yandara has short hair. My hair is notably longer than hers. So yes, nowadays, like, the roles are not necessarily being reversed, but the fine line that separates male hairstyles from female hairstyles is just being obliterated. Like, there's no differentiation. I
And
feel
that's
like the
absolutely true. I don't
yes.
know if you were at the beginning, Akan, but we played videos, and that was the reason why we played that excerpt from that video, that video we showed on YouTube. Men had long hair. If you look at images from the past, men had long, it wasn't about length. So this idea of men having short hair, women having longer hair came from somewhere. It was not, it didn't come from us. It didn't come from our history. It didn't come from us as Africans. Again, we're trying to really break through the constructs and the narratives that have been told us about our ways and Africans and who we are and where we should come from. And so men always had long hair and they carried long hair, if you could grow it out, So that construct of an idea of a man, is something that was picked up somewhere. It wasn't part of our culture. And again, time is flying. And I know it's Sunday evening and everybody needs to go prepare for Monday. So we will wrap all of this up. Final question, 30 seconds, Mrs. Rosemary. What do you think, where should we go from here? Like, where should the 21st century African, male, female, go from here? Should we go back to our past and represent ourselves the way, we saw in those pictures? And people, I'm sure people are like, you are crazy. Do you see that umbrella head? How can I carry that umbrella? But should we carry that into our present, or how can we define ourselves as Africans by the way we portray our hairstyle going into the future?
Oh, okay. So more evolution is natural. We have to evolve. We must evolve. We can't stay and be stuck in one space. But it's important for us now, to begin to find out why. I tell children I teach every single day, understand your why. Understand why you do the things you do. Don't do it just because you saw someone else do it. Love yourself. Embrace yourself, accept yourself. No matter, I tell people every day, I did not create myself black. I didn't make myself a Nigerian. If I had a conference with God, I know what I would have told him, but he chose. And God says everything he did was beautiful. And I think we're very beautiful people. And we're lucky to be African because we have the most versatile hair in the whole world. I mean, I'm sure the Caucasians envy us when they know our hair can stand all the way up and move to this side. So with the video you're showing now, it shows the versatility of our hair. You should love it, embrace it, and know why. Do it because of you, not because of other people.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to you, Mrs. Rosemary, to you, Yandara, and Akan, for joining me tonight. This was just a fantastic, phenomenal way of introducing a journey through time as we talk about ourselves from our construct, our narratives, our stories. And so I'll leave us tonight. I want to close out tonight by, first of all, thanking everyone and asking to please share on all the social media handles, post, share, join us next time, invite your friends. We would love to have you here. But I want to leave you with this quote. It's from a quote that was aired by author Emma Dabiri in the story of Black hair. She says, we need to reimagine the way we think about progress, about modernity, about success, about development, and about civilization. We need to think about the way we frame our demands for inclusion and representation, and seriously rethink the way we attribute, and this is the key, or more often than not, do not attribute value to indigenous knowledge systems. We need to think about how we do not administer value to our own belief systems, to our own indigenous value systems. So we're not saying, and I want to close by saying this, we're not saying that we should live in the past. We're not saying to ignore and do not evolve. We are saying whatever you choose to do, however you choose to wear your hair, be proud, be bold, and be unapologetically you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope to see you next time on a journey through time. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Well done, Omo.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Instagram followers. Appreciate you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you. Light up the comment.